success in you. On a football field, playing against successful competition makes you more successful. For the past 2 weeks, the Central Rebels have turned to players who practiced against state champion athletes into big playmakers, and it doesn't hurt to have Jackson Jones. The Rebels have won 10 games in a row, including a 42-24 victory over the Jefferson Blue Jays last week, and enter conference play tonight in Fredericktown. Meanwhile, the Blackcats are coming off their first shutout win in 5 years as they won the Battle of the Blackcats over Herculaneum last week. Whose momentum will be overturned? Find out next in the pregame show presented by Knuckleball Prime Time. Chad Speaker will tell us as he makes his Parkland Sports Live debut. Coach Widener is ready to break down the matchups, and Wyatt Collie is ready to film it all. So sit back, plug in your phone, and lock on to Week 3 of the football season, now on Parkland Sports Live.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center has been providing mental health services since 1903. We are located in beautiful Farmington, Missouri, and serve upwards of 350 patients. With over 1,100 employees, we are the largest employer in St. Francis County.
I think is always in our mission is to get those guys to the place where they can be released in the community and live their lives.
But what makes SMMHC so special?
There's room for advancement. You know, the good benefits.
When you join SMMHC, you're being welcomed into our family. Find us at dmh.mo.gov.
BMW Convenience next to Little Caesars in Fredericktown has everything you need. Gas, snacks, a deli, and great food. Pizza, wings, Bosco sticks, chicken tenders, and more. At BMW Convenience, you can get a burger or chicken sandwich, a bag of chips, and any size fountain drink for just $4.59. That's $4.59. With friendly and quick service, you can get in and out and back on the highway. BMW Convenience, right at the 6772 exit in Fredericktown.
Hi, this is Steve Williams, head coach of the Fredericktown Blackcats, and you're watching Knuckleball Prime Time.
Chad Speaker here joining you on Knuckleball Prime Time, and we do play-by-play on Parkland Sports Live this football season. First year that we've been able to do that, and we're having a great season so far through 2 games as we do these podcasts on the Barn Podcast Network. Chad Winch heading that up. We appreciate his great work, and I'm excited to be going to my first game of the year to do some play-by-play, and I'm excited to see these new Fredericktown Blackcats as well. I had a chance to talk to Steve Williams when he first accepted the Fredericktown Blackcat head coaching job last year, and we've already seen the Blackcats make some nice progress. And their reward, well, this week is they get to play the defending state champions, the Central Rebels. So, Coach Williams, first of all, I want to say congratulations on the win this past week. Not only a win, 13-0 over Herculaneum, but the first shutout that you guys have pitched in 5 years.
Yeah, we were excited about that. First of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. But our kids are really excited. We had a good week of practice, and we really felt like we were prepared to play in week 1, and we didn't really show up. We didn't play our best. And so our focus last week was let's make sure we're prepared, but let's make sure that we leave it on the field and not leave it in the practice field. And so our kids really showed up on Friday night and played well on both sides of the ball. We probably left some points on the field. We didn't score as often as we should have. We had some good drives that ended in punts or 4th downs. But our defense, like you said, pitched a shutout. The first one we had around here, like I said, in 5 years. And you can't argue with that. So our kids were really excited. Our coaches were pleased with our effort. We still got things to work on, but it was obviously a definite step in the right direction.
So when did your players or maybe your coaches kind of become aware, because you're in the middle of the game, you're trying to execute each play, but I'm sure there was a point that everyone kind of became aware, hey, we've got a chance, to pitch a shutout here?
I don't think it happened during the game, but I think afterwards, when we were talking to the team after we shook hands with Herculaneum and everything, we're sitting there and I'm talking to them, and I know a couple of my coaches who played at Fredericktown were kind of like looking on their phone and trying to remember something, looking around. I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Hey, coach." They stepped in and told us, and our kids, of course, they were excited. And but hopefully that's just one step in the right direction we want to go. So hopefully we can continue to improve and get better. And of course, we'll have to this week with Park Hill Central coming in. They're a good ball team. They're coached really well. So it'll be a big challenge for us.
We'll certainly get your thoughts on them as we move along here. But Coach, a turnaround doesn't happen overnight, right? It has to happen incrementally. You have to be able to compete, and then you have to learn to win, and then you keep going. But even though, like you said, maybe you weren't able to play your best game against Perryville in week number 1, but you were in it, 28-14.
Yes.
A couple plays go differently, and maybe that outcome is a little bit different. So you're at the stage now, you probably have to feel like, hey, we're competitive now. Or, as you did last week, actually, you won.
Well, and that's the thing that we focused on. I mean, last year was a tough year. We were 2-8, but we did feel like we made some improvements. Obviously, we felt like we'd be improved this year from last year. And some of the goals you mentioned, we want to compete in practice and game, and to try and teach those kids that competition's good. There was probably some times last year, if we'd have played Perryville the way we played that first week this year, the score would have been a lot worse. So like you said, we did still have a chance. So you can take some silver linings out of losses sometimes and learn from them. And that's kind of what we've done. So we've tried to not only build, good culture in our locker room and good culture on our team, but good work habits, showing up to practice every day, not missing practice, being able to focus and not staying out there for 3 or 4 hours, but getting our work done and moving on. And so we've just tried to instill a lot of those things in our kids and our staff. And they, like I said, they've taken to it like a horse to water. I mean, they've done a really good job as far as buying in and doing what we've been asking them to do. And I think sometimes the results are the payoff, and they saw some payoff this past Friday night. And hopefully we'll continue to see that as we move forward.
I was going to ask you about kind of those building blocks and what you have to set in as the cornerstones, but I think you just answered that.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do, and I've coached a long time, and I've seen a lot of things, and that's good for us because not that we were starting at the bottom, but we were starting at a point where, a lot of our kids played football, but didn't know if they were going to win, didn't really want to know how hard they wanted to work, and we just kind of challenged them to, number one, be a part of the team, and if you're a part of the team, that means you're in for everything. You're not just in when you want to be, and so the good news is that the vast majority of our kids last year stuck it out. We finished last year with I think 54 kids, which is the higher number they've had in Fredericktown for a while. I think the year before I came, they finished with maybe 30. Right now we're sitting at 58, and those 58 are solid. We haven't lost a kid, for a while. And so they're all showing up. They're all working hard. So that's part of it. Obviously their effort, they've got to give effort when it's time to give effort. And that's, sometimes you don't feel good every day. Sometimes you're not at your best, but they've got to.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight for Parkland Sports Live, and we're in Blackcat Valley tonight, and good to have you alongside on our podcast. I'm Chad Speaker. Jake Whitener just to our right side. Our man on the field will be Mike Reeves. We'll be checking in with him throughout our broadcast tonight. And we've got the Central Rebels, the defending state champions, coming up against the Fredericktown Blackcats tonight. Central has started the year 2-0. The Blackcats from Fredericktown, they're 1-1, but they're playing good, tough football. A 28-14 setback against Perryville in week 1. But Jake Whitener, the first shutout that Fredericktown defense has come up with in 5 years in the 13-0 victory over Herculaneum.
Yeah, that says something about what Coach Williams is doing down here. The culture, as he said in his interview this past week with Chad, you got to change the culture, and that says something week 2 against a team the last few years that they've been back and forth with and potential winning opportunities, and it's been slugfest each year. They've just never been able to capitalize, and to come away with a shutout says a lot about what Coach Williams is doing.
Take a look at some of the numbers and the matchups as we move along. But Mike Reeves not only knows his way around a football field, he also knows his way around a weather radar. What are you thinking tonight, Mike?
Thinking You guys a picture of what the radar looks like. It's on the doorstep. It just depends how fast does it move in, then how intense is it. The more intense stuff is really supposed to be later tonight because this natural turf field so different. I mean, we're so used now to watch everybody play on the artificial surfaces and the field turf, and now you got this. So much rain at all, it does affect the footing. It affects the way the game is played. So if we do start to get that, I'll keep you guys abreast as to how it's affecting play.
Sounds great. If anybody should know how the field plays, it'll be Jake Whitener. This field was new during your tenure here at Fredericktown, and I know it's something that certainly the community and the football program and the school was proud of, able to put in a new field. How does it play when it gets wet out there?
Well, I mean, it takes a little bit for that sod to set in. We actually opened it up 2 days. It finished 2 days before our first home game that year. So it was slick. I mean, it takes sod a little bit of time for the roots to dig deep and get through the sand. But the one thing about Black Cat Valley is it does not matter the temperature pregame. It does not matter the rain in the air. You watch about the 9 o'clock. I mean, I know we're kicking off at 6 tonight, but you watch about the 8:30, 9 o'clock, and there's a steady almost fog or mist that comes through this valley off the crop fields to our north. And it does get slick. This grass does get slick. It's one of the nicer grass fields. It's one of the only grass fields left around. But that's something to keep an eye on is when that moisture rolls in those later hours, it does tend to have a little bit of a slick surface on top.
We opened up talking about the defense for Fredericktown, and they were able to have that shutout against Herculaneum. But let's take a look at the triggermen from these two football teams. And Jackson Jones for the Central Rebels takes over, of course, for the record-setting Kason Murphy on that state championship team. But Jackson's numbers here early on, Jake, are spectacular. He's throwing for 148 yards per game, and over the first 2 games, he's rushing for 111. He's really one of those dual-threat quarterbacks that everybody wants to have nowadays.
Well, and you look at what he wears across the field as he comes out as a captain. You don't see too many quarterbacks wearing number 49. You know, you're one number away from being an offensive lineman. And, you know, in some programs, he is an offensive lineman. He is a stout young man. He is built like the middle linebacker position he's played the last 3 seasons. But watching him last week against Jefferson, you're curious about the bulk of the size of a middle linebacker throwing the ball, and he put some dimes downfield. So to see his numbers, it actually is pretty impressive once you see his mechanics and his throwing motion as he gets going tonight.
6 foot, 195 pounds, and as you said, he's a hammer at middle linebacker. Corey Sway says, yeah, he's a middle linebacker playing quarterback, but he's got the quarterback skills to go along with it. On the other side, Easton Wood, you're familiar with this young man, 6'1", 180-pound senior. His numbers are even more eye-popping through the first 2 weeks. He's throwing for 230 a game, and he has rushed for 187 in his first 2 games. So here's another dual threat guy that the Blackcats feel really good about.
Well, and you knew he was going to be something special, and this may be a little bit of a biased opinion, but he wound up starting as a freshman in the playoff game that we had against Potosi. That was a flip of the script that year where we lose a 21-7 ball game, and he starts at outside linebacker, and you could tell by his mechanics that year that as a sophomore he was going to be a handful for a lot of teams. But to step in as a freshman, played amazing outside linebacker, did the job we needed. And you look at how he's grown. He went from about 140 pounds 4 years ago to 180 frame. And the kid's quick. He's got a good arm. So, I mean, he truly is your typical spread offense, dual threat quarterback.
Let's go down to the field now, and Mike Reeves is keeping an eye on that coin toss as we're just moments away from kickoff. And what unit will we see first, Mike?
Yeah, the Rebels get the opportunity to handle the ball first. I think they wanted that to begin with. We see so many defer the choice to second half these days, and I think the Rebels were like, if we win it, let's take it, let's go with it, let's try to build a lead. Guys, on the field tonight, there's without doubt a heavy favorite in this football game. There's no denying that. And if you're the heavy favorite to get out quick, put some points on the board, and start to kind of exert your will early, I think it means a lot. So they'll get the first opportunity with it here at the kickoff.
All right, well, Mike brought it up, so we will go ahead and mention it. Central enjoying a 16-game win streak in this series. The last time the Blackcats were able to best the Rebels came back in 2011. It was a 35-23 victory for Fredericktown back in that year. So it's been quite a while. In fact, most of these kids were 3 and 4 years old on Fredericktown's team. They weren't in school yet the last time the Blackcats won in this matchup. So it'll be kicked away by Fredericktown. Kevin Barton was the scheduled kickoff guy. It looks like DJ Baca, though, going to line up to do the honors. And for Central, they'll put that return team back Karis Foster going to be fielding it. Central will move from our right to our left side as they look at and describe the action to you. Wyatt Cawley brings us the images tonight. And let's go ahead and meet the starting lineups. Jackson Jones, the lead man and the quarterback for the Central Rebels. You'll have Karis Foster and Barrett Henson will not only be running backs, but they like to throw to those guys as well. They'll use them in multi-purpose fashion. Caden Bourne is the center. He'll be flanked by Hayden Carver. And the scheduled starter was Dakota Bowers, but they said he might be a game-time decision. We could see Keegan Sherrill in at that guard position. We'll keep our eyes out for that. Jason Threlkeld and Silas Richardson are the tackles. You've got a tight end, running back, wide receiver in Colin Holsey, and Nick Fowler is the other wide receiver. So 1st and 10 for Central after the kick goes out of bounds, and they've got it from their own 35-yard line. Jackson Jones, the trigger man, he'll be alone in the backfield, and he'll have twins to the left and 2 off to the right side as well. Jackson, a very good runner, 6.3 yards per carry so far in the early part of the season, but a guy that can throw the ball well. Also, he's hit at the line of scrimmage, and he's spun down after just a 1-yard gain. Jake Whitener, let's go ahead and meet the defense for Fredericktown, which looked good on the first snap. Maddox Neppers at the nose. Alex Bowman is an end. Parker Oatman is a tackle, and Chase Adams on the other end. Ethan Marler, the middle man of the defense. He'll be flanked in that linebacking core by Mason Proffer and DJ Baca. On the corners are Caleb Feltz and Derek Irby, and the safeties are Dane Sensel and Easton Wood. So give him 2 yards, it looks like, right there, as they gave him a nice spot. And it'll be Jackson Jones, the quarterback, handing it off this time and puts it in the belly of Gage Toomey. And Toomey's wrapped up. And these Blackcats have come to hit some people tonight, Jake.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch. 2 plays in a row. And you mentioned this young man who I think is going to be a handful in the middle of this defense, and Maddox Nepper. He's a very strength-conditioned kid. As a freshman coming in, you knew he was going to do some great things. And looking at the frame he has and the ability to rip through the A gaps, he may cause some havoc in the interior of this line.
3rd and long for Central. Call it in the 3rd and stretch it maybe just over 6 yards as Jones in an apparent throwing down. We'll see what the offense calls up here. He flips it over to the right side. And Karis Foster has it there, and he's spun down behind the line of scrimmage and dumped for a loss. The Fredericktown Blackcats trying to throw Central for 3 and out as Dane Sensel did a nice job coming up from that safety spot to play some D.
And that's one thing you're going to have to watch, though, because that's one thing Central is very known for is their screen and go game. You throw a Foster screen out front, but then on the backside, you got to make sure your safeties and your corners are paying attention to men downfield.
Central lining up to go for it right here on a 4th and 7. Now, their quarterback is also their punter, so we could see a quick kick from him, and now he will scoot back and line up more in that punting formation. What that forces Fredericktown to do is line up in that kind of safety spot instead of a punt return team. They'll go ahead and play D, and the punt down to the 18-yard line where we'll see our first look at the Blackcat offense and the Central Rebel defense.
You know, and that's something to keep an eye on is exactly what they're going to be able to do tonight. Can they maintain that pace against this fast tempo of Central? Because that's something Coach Schweiss is known for. He's going to try to play your mind game of we're going to go slow, let your defense maybe get in a rhythm, and all of a sudden it's a fast-paced NASCAR.
Long way to go, and we know Coach Schweiss has such a voluminous playbook, but I just like to see the physical play out of Fredericktown on the first series.
You bet. I mean, that's something that and I will admit, back a few years when I was here, we lacked the physicality, and to watch them hold Central to 3 yards on the first drive is pretty outstanding.
1st and 10 for the Blackcats. They've got it at their own 18-yard line. And Fredericktown going from our left to our right as we look at and describe the action to you. And they'll hand it off to the first man through. That's Zach Botbile. And Botbile is bottled up, and he's thrown for a 2-yard loss. Let's meet the offense now. As you heard about the quarterback, Easton Wood, on our pregame show. Wood's the quarterback. Botbile will see Sensel as a running back as well. Ethan Marler will play a variety of skill positions for them. You've got Snodgrass, Shane Snodgrass, as a starting 155-pound center. He's flanked by Ethan Francis and Donnie Lout IV. Alec Bowman and Ethan Ballou are the tackles. We'll see Caden Crump as a tight end and Leandre Catchings as a wide receiver. They'll ride it into the belly this time of Botbile. He's looking to go off tackle left side, but he's swallowed up and dumped right there as Max Woods comes from that outside linebacker position. Let's check out the defense of Central. Jason Threlkeld is a tackle. Justin Robinson, Silas Richardson along the line. John Boyer, Jackson Jones are on the inside of the linebacking core. Max Woods just had the tackle right there. and Chad Cosby's an outside backer. The corners are Karis Foster and Barrett Henson. Nick Fowler and August Black are the safeties. 3rd and 10 here for Fredericktown. Bob Bile gaining the 2 yards back that he lost on the first carry. Twins to the right side, and one running back out there. And now here's a post route over the middle, and the ball just overthrown Leandre Catchings on that post route. And they ran with him pretty well. It would have taken a good ball, but Catchings, he's got a little burst to him.
Yeah, he's an outstanding athlete. He's a young man that came in as a sophomore down here and started the last half of the season. He actually broke the interception record in 6 games, and that's something to be said about his physicality as a corner sophomore, but also the fact he did have a little bit of a step. Easton just had a little bit too much arm throwing that ball downfield.
Just as Central does, Fredericktown has their quarterback, also has their punter, and Easton Wood has his heels on his own 5-yard line. He knocks this one to the right side, and the return man back there, Karis Foster, has no chance to give it a grab. Let's thank a few of our sponsors now. We'd like to tell you about Mineral Area College and Mac Tech. Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. Mac Tech. And Central's got their second chance at it now. They'll start just inside of Fredericktown territory as they're just about on the 49-yard line. They'll work off tackle to the left side and hand it off to Gage Toomey. Toomey over to the left side, but there's Maddox Nepper, Jake, 5'11", 240-pound, just a sophomore, and shed the block and got his man.
And not only did he shed the block for a sophomore, I mean, this kid is weight room strong, so it wouldn't be a surprise tonight to see him flowing the line, running the line, but also being in the backfield.
This is Jackson Jones. He's back there all alone and throws the short out route to the left side in and out of the hands of Karis Foster, and a 3rd and 7 coming up for these Rebels. Central 2-0, as we said on the season. It was a 2-day victory over Owensville. Yeah, they started it Friday, got washed out, went back Saturday, won it 22-13, and then a 42-24 victory over Jefferson in week 2. So 3rd and 7 for the Rebels right here, and Nick Fowler decides to start early, and it'll turn a 3rd and 7 into a 3rd and 12 here for the Rebels.
And you know that's not going to sit well with Coach Schweiss here, because they didn't play a 4-quarter game last week against Jefferson. They got a little sloppy. Jefferson got not back into the game, but they were still able to move the ball. And then to have on the first drive you stall out 4 plays, you're punting, and now to have an offsides.
So trips to the right side, one man off to the left. The aforementioned Nick Fowler over there on the island as Jackson Jones barks it out, rolls to the right side. He's got a man short, and they'll complete it on the out route to the right side to Barrett Henson. They needed 12. And they got close to it. They pick up just over 9 yards right there.
And that's something that, they had the same route. They ran the 5-6 yard out with
7:17 remaining here in the first quarter. No score as of yet. Each team with one drive so far. The Central Rebels on their second drive right here. And the officials just communicating with the box right there, as we'll head down and hear from Mike Reeves after this play. Quarterback Jackson Jones. Both teams feel good about getting their quarterbacks out on the run and moving them not only in the pocket but outside of the pocket to complete some passes. Trips to the left for Central. They've got one man off to the right side and a single setback. They continue to look over to the far sideline as the coaches consider changing the play. And Mike, what are you noticing down there on the field?
One thing stands out big time, guys. I've had a chance to be down here on the sideline at Fredericktown about 5 to 6 times in my broadcasting career. I've never felt the energy I feel along this sideline and the confidence. Now, I know they won last week and put a shutout on the board, but it is a different feel, and the fact they played early to start this one certainly doesn't hurt at all.
Mike, what was the feel when they get on the field against the defending state champions and the defense gives them a 3 and out on that first try?
Well, I mean, you could just sense the coaches won the players. I mean, the guys who aren't playing, and they're just like, it gives you that boost of, hey, I know who they are. I know what they've been. I know what they've been this year. But we just showed that on 3 downs, we're compete up front with them. And both of you guys know this so well. Football games are won up front. You've got to be able to play up front. And so far, they've done that and more.
They've adjusted the clock. 7:39 now remaining here in the first quarter. Jackson Jones in the backfield. And same alignment after the timeout. Trips to the left side, one man off to the right side. Don't be too surprised if they try to isolate Jones and get the 3 yards up the middle, too. He's got great legs. And now he will flip it over to the right side. Pass is complete for a first down. That's a gain of 5. And Colin Hawsey wraps it up right there. Pretty nice touch on the short game there by the first-year quarterback.
And that's one of those passes that a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to actually throw a speed out or a 5-and-out route, because you've got to have that touch and you got to know exactly when that receiver is going to break to the sideline.
So move the sticks, and Central's got a 1st and 10 at the 7:34 mark. Line of scrimmage is at the Fredericktown 37-yard line. You've got 2 running backs in front of the quarterback. Jackson Jones right here. Picks up a block, gets to the 20, cuts to the left side. And now he's bulldozing his way over a tackler. And he is able to gain 17 yards all the way down to the 20-yard line. That's a really interesting play design.
Well, and that's what you have to be careful. When you run a 4-3, you've got to watch how you're playing a trip side to a single receiver, because sometimes you can get a linebacker in a bad position and expect that safety to cover the backside A and B gap if that linebacker cannot fill that.
3 running backs in front of Jones. Jones going to air this one out down the left sideline now as he puts it into the end zone. It is caught by Foster for a touchdown. A 21-yard strike, and Jackson Jones fluttered it right into the end zone for his 3rd touchdown pass of the year. And Karis Foster catches it for the first 6 points of this one. 6-0 Central at the 7:06 mark of the first quarter.
You know, Chad, and that's going to have to be something that you're watching. I mean, we talked about the pace. Neither team got off to the pace they wanted with the 3-and-out series. Now you come back and you're seeing Foster. How is he going to be able to get by these corners tonight?
Central going to go for 2, and they will bring in a hefty backfield, and they're able to nose it over the goal line for the 2-point conversion. And Corey Schweiss, always tinkering with things in his playbook, puts in the 6'3", 240-pound Jason Threckeld to go ahead and punch in the 2-point conversion.
You know, and that's something that the Central always does. Whenever it depends on who it was at quarterback, when they had the Jake Bridges at quarterback, you know, they would stay with the spread. You have, even sometimes with Joe Bryant, you know, in Harlow, they would bring in a Maryland eye look, or they would always bring in somebody that maybe had a little heft to make you outthink yourself. Are they running it? And then sometimes they'll roll out on a bootleg pass because they've got 3 running backs behind quarterback.
Pretty nice variety with the run and the pass there on that drive, Jake. You utilize Jackson Jones. You kind of get big and put the running backs in front of him, but he showed some nice touch on an out route and then a good long ball for the TD.
Yeah, I mean, they had 6 plays. There was a penalty in there, but they ran 6 offensive plays for 49 yards, and it was back and forth. You do not know with Coach Schweiss and that offensive staff what you're going to get series by series. They go run heavy, and then all of a sudden it's pass heavy, and then all of a sudden it's a trick play down the field in one. They still have that ability with this offense to go down the field in one play.
The 21-yard touchdown strike from Jackson Jones to Karis Foster there. 7:06 remaining in the first quarter. And here's a pooch kick straight up the middle. And it didn't look like it was necessarily an onside, but maybe kind of taking them by surprise. Dane Sensel, though, did a nice job to cover it up.
And that's something you have to be careful about. Special teams anymore, it's not what it used to be. Central's not what they used to be, because they used to have kickers that would put it in places deep and pin you deep, or they would give you a touchback. A touchback in high school football is huge. You're making the team go 80 yards against you, but you also get them thinking from previous films. We haven't shown a pooch kick onside, so you catch people off guard.
Touchdown was right in front of Mike Reeves. We'll get his perspective on it right after this play as Easton Wood steps into that pistol formation. Ethan Marler goes in motion. They're going to keep it with Wood now to straight quarterback sweep around the right side. Puts his shoulder down, bulls a man. He's got a 10-yard gain, but we also see a flag. So as we check in with Mike Reeves on the hold call, Mike, you also had that touchdown happen right in front of you there.
How many times have receivers at every level told you a ball that is not perfectly thrown is sometimes the best ball because the receiver can see it and adjust to it. The defensive backs, the safeties can't see that. That's exactly what happened on that play. And regarding the 2-point conversion, last week Central couldn't convert 2 to save their life. They come up with a little bit different plan, a plan that the 1986 Chicago Bears would be very, very proud of. And I'll let the older people in the audience remember what I'm talking about.
Little kitchen appliance reference right there.
I think so. Bring in the hefty to squirt it for 3.
William the Refrigerator Perry. But Mike, one of my biggest laments in football, though, is that Walter didn't get the touchdown in the '85 Super Bowl.
All kinds of reasons to be annoyed by that, because it was such a perfect spot to let him do it, and yeah, for him not to have gotten that, and the only negative in an illustrious career, I guess you'd say.
The snap was long there, but the quarterback Wood, hey, he makes something out of it right there. That was going to be a loss of probably 8 yards, and instead he gains 8 yards. Easton Wood showing some athleticism right there.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. That's what you saw when he was a freshman, the ability to make plays and to scramble and do what he needs to do. The kid's been at receiver, he's been at safety, corner, running back, and now the last few years filling in at quarterback. You see the versatile effect he has on this team.
2nd and 12 here for Fredericktown, moving from our left to our right, 6:25 and counting down here in the first quarter, and an 8-0 lead for Central. Jason Lowry not only founding this operation here, Parkland Sports Live, but also our engineer tonight. So he's wearing, I know you can't see him, but he's wearing lots of different hats, literally right now. Easton Wood fakes it, keeps it, sends it up the gut, and another good tough run from him as he skirts out across the 45-yard line to the 47. And we're looking at about a 7 or an 8-yard gain, but there was a late flag.
Yeah, and you don't know where that's at. That came from the back judge downfield. Very possibly could have saw a face mask because it was in the pile we didn't see, but there was also a Fredericktown receiver that wound up on the ground, so I don't know if there's a little bit of extracurriculars out of Central, but from my view up here, I think this will be against Central.
Unsportsmanlike against Central, so you can go ahead and count that 8-yard gain from Easton Wood and then tack on 15 more. And for the first time, we see these Blackcats in Central territory.
You know, that was a great play design. They went jet motion to the weak side. They got the linebacker to shift over just enough. They ran a inside trap play with Easton Wood, and that's what you have to be very disciplined. We know Jackson Jones is a very disciplined middle linebacker, but you have to be very keen on your read each week to know where you fit into each of these gaps.
Wood brings him up to the line. He'll deploy 2 wide receivers to the right side. He's got a pair of wingbacks with him in the backfield as well. And they'll start everybody moving at that snap of the ball. Handed off on that jet sweep to Mason Proffer. But John Boyer blasted into the backfield and brought down Proffer for about a 5-yard loss.
You know, and that's something, Chad, moving forward. You know they're overplaying your jet sweep. If you have discipline out of your backside receiver, you're going to get a one-on-one shot. And we know that Easton can stretch the field with his arm. He's got a very strengthy arm. So that's one of those that you set up for later. You saw your failures, but don't let your failures continue to be failures. Use them to your positive supports.
Call it a -6 on the play and a 2nd and 16 for Fredericktown. Fredericktown looked at 1st and 20, though, on their last set of downs, and they managed to move the sticks. Now Wood fires it out on a flag route, and really was a pretty nice pass. That was intended for Proffer, but an even better recovery, Jake Whitener, for Barrett Henson, who I didn't know was going to be able to get back there and deflect that in time.
Well, and that's the hard thing with playing a shell look like that. They had Proffer over the top and underneath, and Easton almost dropped it right where it needed to be because the flat route defender did not really sink his hips the way he should have. He was watching the quarterback to see if Easton was going to a different route.
Let's go down to Mike now, and Mike, from up here, I'll tell you what, that ball looks pretty good coming out of Wood's hands. How does it look from down there?
It's fantastic. You know, you get that look. You got passes that look good. Great tight spiral, and that one was on target. It was just a great defensive play.
And there you go, the slant completion right there to Leandre Catchings. Another good ball by Easton Wood, but that was a pretty early flag, Jake.
Yeah, that's going to be one of two things, either a hold or it may have been a chop block, illegal chop block inside.
And they will call holding against the Blackcats, their second penalty for 20 yards. 5:27 remaining here in the first quarter, and it's an 8-0 lead in favor of Central. Central has kind of had a stranglehold on a lot of different teams in this area over the last few years. They've certainly held dominance over Fredericktown for a long, long time. The last time that Fredericktown was able to overcome Central was 2011. The last winning season for the Blackcats came in 2012. They went 6-5 that year. Well, I remember these two teams had a couple of just tremendous matchups in the late years of Shannon Henson, though. They played a couple of times during that season in 12, and then one of them was overtime. Really played some great games back then. Twins to the right, twins to the left side, and they'll shift the running back Popbile from the right to the left hip, the quarterback Easton Wood. We're looking at a 3rd and Siopis, and this ball is thrown high and wobbly, and Karis Foster picks it off at the Central 26-yard line. Really one of the few balls that we've seen that didn't look true by Easton Wood.
And that's one, Chad, you have to wonder, was the ball wet? I mean, there's multiple factors there because he wasn't under pressure. It did look like on his back foot that he had a little bit of a misplacement of his foot, because when he came out, he was not standing tall and proud to throw a ball down the field. So it makes you wonder if maybe his hips made him overthrow and sky that ball.
They've got a timeout on the field. We're at 5:04 remaining in the first quarter. An 8-0 lead for Central over Fredericktown on Parkland Sports Live as we step aside.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center has been providing mental health services since 1903. We are located in beautiful Farmington, Missouri, and serve upwards of 350 patients. With over 1,100 employees, we are the largest employer in St. Francis County.
I think is always in our mission is to get those guys to the place where they can be released in the community and live their lives.
But what makes SMMHC so special?
There's room for advancement. You know, the good benefits.
When you join SMMHC, you're being welcomed into our family.
8-0 Central Rebels as we return on Parkland Sports Live. We're in Black Cat Valley here in Fredericktown tonight. Jackson Jones running the quarterback for the Central Rebels, and he's going to take this one straight up the gut, plows through two men and gains 10 yards. Move the sticks for Jackson Jones. But as we went to break right there, Jake, just the ball hawking skills of Karis Foster. Curls around a defender to catch a touchdown and squares his hips and looks at the ball as a defensive back.
You know, and this defensive staff, Coach Jones always does a great job, but anytime they're getting single receivers, they are going over the top and underneath in a blanket coverage, which Foster had the underneath, which allowed him to underplay that ball.
John Boyer swings out to the left side as a wide receiver, but a flag is dropped before the play gets underway, and it'll be a illegal movement by Central right there. Providing mental health services since 1903 right here in Farmington, Southeast Missouri Mental Health serves over 350 patients, and I've got over 1,000 employees. They're one of the largest employers in St. Francis County and are growing. Find out how you can become part of the family. Schedule an interview today. Central hands it off to Karis Foster, and Karis tries to dance out of the tackle of a Fredericktown Blackcat. And was that Easton Wood coming up to help?
That was Easton Wood coming from the safety position. And it's a good thing he did. He was the saving grace because Derek Irby out here at corner was getting ran off by this receiver. Easton doesn't make that. It's at least 20, 30 yards before Derek's going to catch up to him.
Terrific play by Easton Wood. He's shown athleticism on both sides of the ball. 3:45 and counting down here in the first. 8-0 Central on top of Fredericktown, and we're looking at a 2nd and 15. Pass just off the hands of Nick Fowler, and he curled in. If he'd have curled out, it would have been a perfect completion, but it was just out of his reach.
Yeah, and that's one thing you're going to have to watch is, you know, the separation you're creating here is these defensive backs, as we know Jones can stretch the field.
Mike going to give us his perspective on that interception as well, as he's got that field level spot down there for us tonight. Jackson Jones, the quarterback, he's back in the gun, looking at a 3rd and 15. Takes a look at her route down the field, slings it. It's a curl route. It is complete. Not nearly enough for a first down, though. They'll gain about 9 on the play to Colin Holsey. And, Mike, what'd you see on the pick play down there?
It made me think that we just said how well he's been throwing the ball, tight spiral, everything. The first pass that wasn't clean was picked off. That tells you what good defenses do as well. You can't make mistakes. You nearly have to be flawless against good defenses.
Central lines up to go for it. They're in their own territory, and they're trying to use that hard count to get Fredericktown to jump off sides. Now they'll scoot Jackson Jones back a couple of steps, and he'll go ahead and boot it away. Fredericktown forced to play safe on the defensive side. Wasn't a spectacular punt, but it sure did pick up a good roll down to the 29.
Yeah, and you can't ask for anything better than that, because we've now seen Easton and Jackson both have a punt that they got a little bit of a roll off of. But, you know, when you're just trying to get a field position change here, I will say this may be something to look at, is that punt team every time has sent Foster across in jet motion. Jackson Jones steps back. It wouldn't surprise me if Central gets in a position where it is almost 4-down territory if that ball's not snapped next time on 4th down.
Defenses are looking pretty sharp. Only one touchdown so far. 2:54 remaining here in the first frame, and an 8-0 lead for Central over Fredericktown on Parkland Sports Live. Thanks for joining us tonight for some Thursday night football, folks. We'll be back at it again tomorrow night. And here's a slant route and put it right on the money to DJ Baca. And now it's a foot race. He's to the 20. He's to the 10. And they will not catch him. A 71-yard strike. Easton Wood to DJ Baca. And the Blackcats get on the board. 2:42 remaining in the first. That kid's got some wheels.
He's got some wheels, and I'll tell you what, that was a great opportunity because they had a robber or an outside blitzer coming off. That was just a simple skinny post or a very shallow slant route. He saw that blitzer coming out of that middle linebacker spot or that Sam or Will position and put it right on a dime.
8th catch of the year for Baca. In his previous 7, he'd gained 68 yards. He's got 71 on that one alone, and he's got a touchdown. Spectacular play. Boy, that was a fun one.
And I'll tell you something here is we're almost to the end of the first quarter. When's the last time, I think I know the answer to this, as the PAT went through, I think the last time it was a 14-7 ball game my first year down here as an assistant when we had Malachi as our running back who broke a 70-yard run on our very first down, but that was the only time we saw the end zone that game. The rest of it was the Central Rebels. But what I was going to say on this, Chad, is this is a defense out of Fredericktown that is used to giving up over the last 5 years over 58 points a game. And to know that we're almost to the end of the first quarter and they've given up 8.
Jake, I rely on you for the drive recaps, but could I do this one?
You bet. I think it's a pretty easy one for you.
Well, one play, 71 yards. It's not a bad way to go about it.
That's a way to get your team back with a little momentum and a headstrong spirit to go back out on defense.
2:42 remaining in the first quarter. And Mike, once again, you were right there watching it at field level. Baca's got some wheels down there now.
And what should happen, if you complete that pass in stride across the middle of the slant, you want to have a receiver who can take it the distance. You don't want somebody who could get caught from behind. And for about a blink and a half, I thought he was going to get caught around the 10. He had that little extra burst and into the end zone, and what a big play that was. And you talked about confidence on this sideline earlier. It's off the charts now.
Oh, he sure did, and this one's kicked out of bounds once again, just like we saw in the opener for Fredericktown. 2:42 remaining here in the first quarter, and an 8-7 lead for these Central Rebels. We've got a great football game going on. Tomorrow night, we'll be back on the podcast as DeSoto visits North County, and we thought tonight was going to be the rainy night. Now it looks like maybe tomorrow is going to be the real. We'll wait and see. I don't know. Reeves is the weather guy down there. They're going to be all splashy and rainy tomorrow night, Mike?
It's not raining now, so I've lost all credibility because I did not think there was a chance that by 6:30, which we're approaching, I didn't think there was a chance we'd be playing dry football. It's been sprinkling. There's a little bit out here, but nothing to affect the game. I'm thrilled and wrong.
I hope you don't just jinx yourself down there. Ball in and out of the hands of Nick Fowler right there. And that's the play, Jake, that we saw in the last drive, the outbreaking out route. Jones threw it inside. That time he did throw it outside on the money, but they just couldn't corral it.
Yeah, and it's really weird because both incompletions have been to the offensive left. The completions have been to the offensive right. So maybe it could be multiple things, but the two on our side have just been drops.
Trips to the right side. One man off to the left. Gabe Toomey in the backfield. Gabe Toomey is swallowed whole by this Fredericktown defense. A tremendous tackle as Maddox Knepper blasted across the line of scrimmage. We've already talked about this sophomore, but there he is again. He's a hard man to handle.
He is. He's, like, as I've mentioned multiple times, and I'll continue, weight room strength here, but he's very disciplined with what he's doing. He's not getting too far in the backfield. He's running from offensive tackle to offensive tackle, making these guys bounce or run back into him.
3rd and 12 for the Central Rebels. And they have the football just inside of their own 35-yard line. Jackson Jones back to pass, flings it on that slant, and once again then out of the hands of Colin Halsey. There have been 3 drops so far by these Central Rebel receivers. And, you know, through the first 2 weeks, you kind of say, did Central reload? Did they rebuild? You know, what's going on here? Are there going to be hiccups after losing that incredible class? You know, some of these new receivers, new to Friday Night Lights, and sometimes it does take a few weeks to kind of get at your apex level.
Well, and what you see here different from last week is last week was a 3-3 stack. This is a 4-3, true 4-3. But the one thing I'm going to say is there's always openings in the middle of the field on a 4-3.
Jones to boot it away. This time Fredericktown does have a return man, and he at the final moment dodges out of the way of that ball. Derek Irby looked like he might field it for a moment. Thinks better of it. 1:48 remaining here in the first quarter. An 8-7 ball game. The difference, the 2-point conversion by Central. I talked to Coach Swice before the game about their special teams. He said, man, we were terrible at 2-point conversions. We were 0 for 7. And I said, well, what about kicking it? And he didn't even answer that question. He just laughed at me. So I guess I knew the answer to that one. 1:48 remaining here in the first frame, and an 8-7 lead here for Central. But these Blackcats are playing tough. Easton Wood, the quarterback, puts 2 wide to the left side, I beg your pardon. He's got a flanker and a wingback off to the right side. They'll go ahead and fake that counter. Wood keeps it and tries to break the single-man tackle. Manages to get to the sideline and a gain of 4. Pretty nice gain on a first down.
One, you can't ask any more. I mean, the only thing you might start seeing is a little bit of movement because right now they're hitting the weak side. They're going one-on-one with Easton Wood at the quarterback against the corner, which he's done a great job. But don't be surprised somehow if they don't counteract that with Ethan Marler slipping out from that B-back or Y position as that wing down the field behind this corner, maybe for a short out route.
These two teams in the same district, in addition to being in the same conference, and that puts even heightened importance on this game. We'll talk about that and why as we move along. And here's a dangerous pass over the middle. It was a double clutch throw by Easton Wood that time. He said, I got my man. No, I don't. Yes, I do. And that one glancing off the hands of Derek Irby, but a lot of Rebels in the area right there. And now Mike Reeves said, hey, rain might play a factor in this ball game down there with these two programs both using the run and the pass early on.
As I will tell you this, if this is the beginning of what should be an evening of rain, it's a steady rain now. It's light. It's not affecting play at the moment. If this, though, is going to last for the next 2 hours or so and then pick up, then we start to keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you guys abreast as to exactly how much it's affecting the game.
Trips to the left side for Fredericktown, but they're going to take it up the gut with Wood. Wood is met in the hole and stuffed. No gain on the play right there. And a great job by that defensive front of Central to stuff that thing. That was Aiden Reddick, 6'1", 240 senior at the head of the spear right there.
You know, and Chad, something you have to look at here, as Mike just said, we've got a little bit of precipitation, just a little bit of moisture. They're playing on grass field. That moisture is going to come up out of the grass. Right now, you're getting ready to go punt. You know, you're on your own 39.5-yard line. The number one thing you have to do now is secure the snap. Make sure you get a punt off to change the field position here.
Fredericktown lines up much like Central did, trying to at least think that they might go for it. Instead, they'll decline and call a timeout. And that gives us a chance to thank one of our sponsors, BMW Convenience, next to Little Caesars in Fredericktown at the 67 exit. Gas, snacks, a deli, and great food. Pizza, wings, now I'm hungry. Chicken tenders and more. Get a burger or chicken sandwich, bag of chips, any size fountain drink for just $4.59. That's BMW Convenience in Fredericktown. Thanks for sponsoring us here on Parkland Sports Live as we come to you through The Barn, an emerging media company in Farmington. Chad Winch is the top of the folks there at The Barn. They've got a variety of podcasts. Just go to The Barn, check them out on YouTube and their variety of podcasts. 8-7, 52 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. And Central with a 1-point lead. They're too deep in their own territory to go for this, aren't they, Jake?
I would think so, but while we have a second before they snap this on this 4th and 3, in one play, Fredericktown went 71 yards.
You're right. Their only completion.
Yeah. But right now, that 71 yards is the exact same as what Central has all first quarter.
How about that? And Wood's going to go for it, and he drops it, picks it up, rushes into the hole over on the left side, and stuffed after a 1-yard gain. Boy, it's hard to tell. Would he had a better chance had he fielded that cleanly? I don't know. Central's reaction was very good.
Yeah, and Jackson Jones fielded it. He was watching his read key. I'm not sure whether they were actually going for it or not. Easton did not catch that snap clean. It was low to the right, which is his kicking foot. But at the same point, when it's low and you're only at 6 or 7 yards, you don't have much reaction time because you're going to have pressure coming up inside those tackles.
Got nothing but respect for the guts of Steve Williams, though. You know what? You haven't beaten this team 16 tries. Let's try to make plays to win this game rather than be meek about it.
Especially with the confidence you have right now. You're in an 8-7 ball game going into the end of the first quarter. I mean, you have no expectations. Everyone thinks the returning class 3 champions are going to, come to town. What are they going to bring? Fight. I mean, be the Blackcats. Fight here.
However, the result of the play is that they give the ball to the Rebels on the Fredericktown side of the field. They've got it at the 41-yard line, and the give is from a wingback coming from the right side, swinging around up the gut. That's Barrett Henson, and Barrett gets a nice gain of 6 yards, but I will say he is thumped when he got to that 6-yard barrier. Mason Proffer put a tag onto him.
That's something about this secondary of Fredericktown. They're not scared to hit. All of these young men I had the chance to be a part of, and to watch them grow and to see the amount of physicality that they're playing with. It says something about the intensity of what Coach Williams and this defensive staff and Micah Reitzel are doing to try to right the ship and get the culture here to where we're getting back to the Shannon Henson era of football.
Central doesn't have to snap it if they don't want to. They say we'll go ahead and do it. Jackson Jones met in the hole, does manage to plow his way forward for 1 yard, and Proffer meets him there. We'll have a 3rd and about 3 coming up as we start the second quarter of play on Parkland Sports Live. It's an 8-7 lead for Central with the football in Fredericktown territory. And we'll come back right after this.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center has been providing mental health services since 1903. We are located in beautiful Farmington, Missouri, and serve upwards of 350 patients. With over 1,100 employees, we are the largest employer in St. Francis County.
I think is always in our mission is to get those guys to the place where they can be released in the community and live their lives.
But what makes SMMHC so special?
There's room for advancement. They're good benefits.
When you join SMMHC, you're being welcomed into our family. Find us at dmh.mo.gov.
We start the second quarter out with the Central Rebels driving it in Fredericktown territory. They're looking at a 3rd and 3 just inside of the Fredericktown 35-yard line. Jackson Jones with those 3 running backs in front of him. We've seen him plow behind those guys on several occasions in this alignment, and that's exactly what he does as he picks up a first down and more. Crossing the 30-yard line and down to the 17-yard line. It's a gain of 16 yards for Jackson Jones. Jones with 5 carries in this game so far, and he's got 45 yards, so he's right on pace for another 100-yard game.
And the one thing that surprises me, Chad, is how many times Foster has not touched it after last week's performance. It really surprises me they're not trying to get him in this offense more.
Ball on the 18-yard line, and Jones once again with 2 running backs in front of him to the right side, 1 to the left side, and he's going to go ahead and take it up the gut once again. That's a hard alignment to stop. There's a lot of meat getting to the point of attack right there. Looks like a gain of about 4 for Jackson there. But you know about Corey Schweiss is he's got plays off of this. As soon as you pinch down too tight, he's going to hit you on the outside.
Exactly. I mean, Jackson's got 3 lead blockers on this. Even if they use the same look where those guys fold in, you've got Foster on the outside one-on-one. Speed difference. I mean, he's an athlete. It's just going to be, are your eyes disciplined as a corner and safety on here?
Call it 2nd and 7 for Central right here. And the ball's just inside of the Fredericktown 15-yard line. This time, Toomey lines up off of the left hip of Jackson Jones. They'll give to Toomey, and Toomey falls forward for a 3-yard gain. But he is tackled one-on-one by Dane Sensel. Gain of 4.
And that's what Dane was impressive on that last one. It was Jackson Jones and Dane Sensel. He may have pulled Dane for a yard or two, but if Dane doesn't stick his nose in on his thigh pads, he's gone. Jackson's in the end zone. Dane does a great job coming downhill from his position to make sure he's at that second-level defender spot.
3rd and 4 for Central. Line of scrimmage is the 12-yard line now. Jackson Jones back in that short gun. Call it a pistol if you want. 2 backs in front of him to the right, 1 to the left, all his lead blockers. Picks out a hole over the left tackle, veers to the left side. Chop down near first down yardage.
That's going to be close, Chad.
It is. He needed to reach about 8, just inside of the 8-yard line for the first down. They are going to move the sticks. So 1st and goal here for Central.
And something that's going to, take a little notice here is you've got both quarterbacks playing both ways, defense, Jones at middle linebacker, Easton at free safety, and they continue to meet each other. Quarterback runs that they have, it's a matter of who can outlast each other's defensive performance.
Ball just inside of the 8-yard line. Toomey's got it, tries to get to the outside, but written down. Caught in the backfield and dumped by middle linebacker Ethan Marler. That's some great feet up the middle, Jake, to pursue kind of from the inside out, tracked him down.
And that's something Ethan's known for. Ethan's a 4-year starter at that middle linebacker or that Mike position. A very good athlete. They don't use him as much on offense to save him for that role at middle linebacker because he is the heart and soul. He controls that defense, but he's a very athletic young man that can run sideline to sideline, but also can bring the thunder through the hole.
Jackson Jones was 7 carries and 53 yards, but about the Fredericktown defense and what they've done against the other backs, Gage Toomey has 5 carries. He's got 2 total yards.
Yeah, and they're a changed team. Coach Williams has done a great job, continues to grow the roster each year. He's doing a phenomenal job, him and Coach Reitzel, in instilling what Blackcat defense is truly about.
Central moves back 5 yards. Did you see what the infraction was there?
I missed it. I was more impressed with the tackle. I think it was a face mask maybe, an offensive hands to the face.
Incidental then. Okay. So the ball now moved back to the 15-yard line, just outside of the 15-yard line. And we're on a goal-to-go situation right here. Now the stick across the way has it at first down. The scoreboard has it at second down. So, but they would get the play over, wouldn't they?
Well, it was second down. It was after the play, and since it's against the offense,
should be a second down.
It should still be a second down. It should be a second and roughly
second and goal from the just outside the 15.
16-ish. So I'm not sure if the stick is right or if they've caught that, but it should still be second down.
Jackson Jones once again with that same alignment. 2 lead blockers to the right, 1 to the left. He's going to fire this one to the end zone, and this ball is incomplete. Pass intended for Barrett Henson. Jake, there was a lot of contact there, and you can have some contact, but I didn't feel like, from our perspective, the defensive back turned to the ball. However, the official was in great position and didn't call anything.
Correct, and that's the thing a lot of people need to understand, difference between high school and college football. Any contact in college, you're going to get a PI. In high school, you can face guard with no intent of turning for the ball as long as you don't make contact. But from our view, Derek Irby may have gotten away with a little hip-on-hip action there.
Good breakdown. Wide to the left side is Fowler. Barrett Henson is wide to the right. There's a running back and a wing back in this alignment as well as they give it to Foster. Foster trying to get to the outside. Now cuts back. Oh, he makes a man miss. He's to the 10, still on his feet. Picks up a block to the 5, puts his head down, spins, and finally spun out of bounds just outside of the 5-yard line. It's a gain of 10 yards. You're not going to see many more exciting than that, though.
And it's a great run, and that's what we just said a while ago was Foster needs to touch this ball a little bit more to get a little bit more momentum. But I'm still confused, Chad, on the stick. After that penalty, I mean, truthfully, unless there was something that negated if they had a loss of yards, I don't think they had a loss of yards. At the same point, that comes into play now because it's almost like the Mizzou, Colorado 5th down play years and years ago. You don't know why this is still sitting on 3rd down.
So here is a 3rd down. They'll run what the coaches like to call a Maryland eye, and they'll stuff it right in the middle, and Foster gains a yard. Tough stuff from the Fredericktown defense. I like to call it a capital I or a triple I. How about that?
It's just
is that
a lot
the
of
old
backs.
Ralph Friedgen Maryland I?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And that is so deceiving because if one of those backs breaks a separate way, your eyes can lie to you, and it negates it and turns it into an ISO or a lead blast. It's very hard to stay disciplined in that.
Maddox Knepper in the middle of that line. Ethan Marler, Mason Proffer all got tough right there. Here's a big play. This could be one of the first pivotal plays of the game. On a 4th and goal from the 4-yard line. And the Central's Rebels have got it heading in to Fredericktown, deep in their territory. And Jackson Jones stumbles at the 2-yard line. And the Blackcats have held him out.
You know, that says something about your defense right there. You just took the guy who's been averaging over 5 yards a carry, I believe, on the season thus far. Tonight, he has not been. He's had some good runs, but at the same point, you look at Jackson Jones right now in the second quarter, we're not even halfway through, and to see the way his body's reacting, some of these runs may be taking a toll on the young man.
Jackson Jones averaging 6.3 yards per carry coming into this ball game. You know, a great choice by Corey Schweiss, though. He's a guy, Corey doesn't love his special teams, so it knocks a field goal out of the equation. Plus, if you get stopped, well, now Fredericktown has 97 yards to go.
And you can be willing to bet after giving up a one-play 71-yard touchdown. Coach Jones is probably going to make sure they're a little bit more on top of their read keys to make sure that they don't march it the 90-plus yards to the end zone.
Zach Botbile by his quarterback there in the end zone. Botbile puts his hat down, crosses the 5-yard line and out to the 6. So nice gain of 4 yards. Barrett Henson meets him there. But it helps to get out of the shadow of their own goal line just a little bit.
You know, and this is a test of what your coaching staff is, how much trust you have. I say this because first play years ago against Poplar Bluff, they had practiced all week a double reverse pass. We pinned them on the 1-yard line, and no matter what, he told his kids the trust factor, we're running this first play, and they went 99 yards on a touchdown.
Wow.
So that tells you, what do you trust for your team to run here on near your goal line?
Twins to the left side. They give us to Botbile once again. He gets to the middle, and he's wrapped up by Jackson Jones. Gain of maybe a yard that time. Botbile's got a little wiggle to him, though, Jake. You can tell as he hits the hole, he's got a little shiftiness.
He's shifty, and also he's a trackster. He is extremely fast. So if you ever get the chance to see him get past that second level of linebackers, don't be surprised if there may not be anybody on this field. Him and Foster would be a great toe-to-toe sprint down the field. So hopefully we maybe get a chance to see that. Coach
Williams says they've got 4 or 5 guys that really kind of compete for the fastest guy, and they're 4.6, 4.65 guys, which at the high school level is nice speed. Here's a 3rd and 6 for Fredericktown, deep in their own territory, and now here's a go route along the outside, and the ball is bouncing and just incomplete. But I thought that was a pretty decent ball intended for DJ Baca right there, especially considering, Jake, the defense was all over him right there, and they had a chance.
I really think that ball was placed in the exact position. It's one of those that you see at the college level that comes over the inside shoulder of the defender, and it should sit there. Our view, we really couldn't see that arm, but from our view, that hand was just pinned down a little bit by DJ. Great defense, still a great ball by Easton Wood.
All right, Fredericktown going to punt out of their own end zone. Well, let's head over to the opposite sideline. Mike Reeves hanging out in Park Hills over there. What's going on, Mike?
Well, you think about how much things have changed, guys, just since our drive over here today. If I would have told you that Central would have had a 4th and goal inside the 5 and we're going to go for it, we would have all thought automatic touchdown. Tonight, it's even Steven, guys. These teams are going toe-to-toe.
You got that right. I love what Karis Foster just did, Jake, because a lot of punt return guys will wait for the hop on that or just clear out. But Karis Foster hustled, grabbed it, didn't have a huge return, but could have saved 25 to 30 yards on a hop right there.
That's the most important thing to understand is a lot of punt returners anymore, they don't run up and field it because you don't have a lot of guys that put the ball a lot of hang time and a lot of distance anymore. You're almost seeing that rugby style where you're getting the end-over-end kick to get the roll. But you're right, he probably saved 20 yards at the minimum. But on the flip side of that, you have a man that deadly running down the field, and you have a number 55 who is coming sprinting down the field for Fredericktown that makes a one-on-one tackle with probably one of the better athletes in the MAFC.
Let's take a look at that MAFC. And now that we have just a little spot, you've got Festus 2-0, Windsor 2-0 on the blue side. Central and Potosi are 2-0 on the white side of the MAFC. But, Jake, we kind of mentioned this earlier just a little bit. This is also a district game. And the way district playoffs work in Missouri is you have 8 team districts. Those teams accumulate points as the season goes along. The team with the highest point total gets the most points and will become the number 1 seed when the playoffs start. So a head-to-head victory against one of your district opponents, really important.
Yeah, and it's extremely important this year because there's a little bit of movement in this Class 3 District 1. You've had some teams switch around. Potosi comes back down to Class 3, who is also 2-0 as of tonight. You're going to have this. I mean, Central is not the team of past, but they are still a very good team. Right now, they've just got a few kinks to work out, but a head-to-head battle here can really ultimately change because St. Jen's 1-1. There's been a little shift in the culture this year of the teams you expect to maybe be 2-0, possibly going into 3-0 after tonight. It's a coin toss this year. Yeah. So it really does say something to have a head-to-head win, especially over a team of Central who only gets better as years go on.
Let's head over to the far sideline where Central is huddling, and Mike Reeves reporting on the Brain Trust over there.
Well, here's what I want to report on because you guys were talking about the districts. We're going to get back to play here. Everybody's fine. They had to dab up. There was a spot of blood on one of the players to get that taken care of, getting back on the field. No significant injury. I'm giving you guys, at the end of this play, to the start of the next play, one of you has to completely explain that point system that you were talking about for the districts. So you've got that long to explain the whole system that Misha has set up that puts the standings out for district play. I want one of you to do it in 30 seconds.
Okay, there's the challenge, and we'll try to get after it after this play as Central's got the football at the Fredericktown 35. They're looking at a 1st and 10. Rebels lead 8-7, 5:58 remaining here in the second quarter. The handoff is to Karis Foster. He heads up the middle, plunges forward for 3 yards, setting up a 2nd and 7. Okay, this is how the playoff system works. It's an algorithm. It's a math thing that you get points for doing stuff. Here's another one for you, Mike. They have changed the playoff system about 3 times in the past, 10, 12 years. And I did an interview with Misha the last time they did it. Snap goes back to Jackson Jones. Flip over to the right side, in and out of the hands of Barrett Henson. Misha told me they studied the playoffs of the other states. Believe this or not, this is what I was told. There are 50 states that play high school football. There are 50 playoff systems in high school football. There is not an identical system from one state to another anywhere. So, whether that's just a tweak to the algorithm, I don't know. But nobody's been able to do it the same way. Everybody's got their own idea. I like the system, and I'll tell you why after this play. Jackson Jones puts his man in motion and hands it off on the jet sweep to Barrett Henson. Henson gets around that left side. He's looking for a first down, still bouncing, still struggling, and he gains 10 yards, and you can move the sticks. The reason I like the playoff system in its current format, guys, is that it rewards teams that have a great season by giving them a home game and the number 1 seed. The prior systems didn't do that. So I understand the arguments against the system, though.
The one thing that's really tough is you have to be able to dive into the algorithm you spoke of, because if you're a parochial school, there's a win factor. Mm-hmm. If you're very successful, you're going to bump classes year to year. If you don't have over that 6-year span and that good algorithm, if you don't have good winning percentages, you drop. Could drop 1 class, could drop 2 classes. Look at Valley Catholic. But, Mike, here's the thing. Nobody really knows.
Here's Jackson Jones, and he sticks it behind those 2 running backs. Mike, you've seen all the playoff systems over the years. Where do you kind of put this one in terms of how you feel about those systems?
How about this? It's as good as any of them that they've had, but there's no perfect one to begin with. It's better than some that we've had. I also like the fact that they do take into account who you schedule and who you play along the way, other than just your conference games. There is some reward for playing a larger class school or a team that's got a better record. There are those things involved. I like that part of it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Here's another jet sweep handoff. This is Karis Foster trying to get to the right side. Reads the blocks well, ducks under a tackle, and noses his way forward near the 10-yard line. He gets down to the 11, and it's a gain of 10 yards once again. Really the first time we've seen Central kind of rip off back-to-back chunk yards, but a flag on the ground.
And something to factor in, from our view up here, if you're watching the field, you don't see it, but if you look up at the track and you look up at the tree line, that mist is becoming a little bit harder. we're on a 3-year-old sod field. You got to start factoring in the weather here, the gameplay. How much moisture is that ball going to hold? How are these shotgun snaps going to affect the center's, grasp on the ball or the exchange of a new ball between plays?
And we already saw a key 4th down play that was that went in and out of the hands of the quarterback for Fredericktown. That maybe cost him the first down, maybe. 4 minutes to go in the second. 8-7. It's Central, but just by a point here on the road in Fredericktown on this Thursday night on Parkland Sports Live. Jackson Jones, the quarterback for Central, looking at a 2nd and 20. He's going to run it up the gut. He is bear hugged, but he does manage to get some help from those big uglies and push it forward for about a 5-yard gain. Caden Bohr and Jason Thretkeld, Hayden Carver, Silas Richardson and company right there.
And they have a very large offensive line. You watch them on film, you see them in person. They're a bunch of big boys. I'm sure Mike sees it even down there. He said it last week against Jefferson. It's almost like a small college team when you look at this offensive line up front. Keynote there, Chad, is Jackson Jones came out of that pile holding his hand.
Now, we talk about the offensive front for Central. They are big and strong. But I'll tell you what, Fredericktown has a big defensive line. We'll talk about them coming up after this play. Jackson Jones looking deep along the left side, throws this one into double coverage, and it is picked off by Easton Wood. He read it perfectly. He ball hawked it into the end zone, and he came down with it on a misty night here in Fredericktown. Huge play for the Black Cat D.
Gonna be a touchback. Blackcats take over 1st and 10.
That's got to feel great as one quarterback intercepting another quarterback, doesn't it?
Oh, and it came at an opportune time. They finally took a shot downfield. They tried getting Foster one-on-one, but again, they blanket covered Foster underneath, over the top. Easton's number one job was to have eyes on number 11 and Foster. Did a great job backpedaling into the end zone. The most important thing there is it's a touchback. It's not on the 1-yard line where he leapt from.
Yeah, because if he catches it there, well, Fredericktown's last possession, they started at the 3. They would have started at the 1, but now they're out to the 20-yard line. 3:01 remaining here in the second quarter. An 8-7 ball game. Central leading Fredericktown. Twins to the right side for Fredericktown. They've got a running back in Zach Botbile off the left hip of Easton Wood. Wood just picked it off. Now he's going to run the quarterback keeper. He's got 2 men to beat to the outside. Gets by 1. The other one throws him out of bounds. A gain of 10 yards. I think they'll move the sticks. Easton Wood, another one of those guys that can pick him up and put him down. They say he's about a 4'6", 40 guy.
He's a very quick kid, and that was almost a bad angle off the secondary defender there. He took just enough angle to push him out of bounds. Chad, he was about 1 blade of grass from turning his shoulders and taking it about 70 yards down the sideline.
I think the defense, too, held for just a count, Jake, as he rode Botbile into the mesh point there and then came around
That's
that left
the most
side.
important thing on a zone read is you've got a full eyes on the defensive side.
Twins to the right side, and they will hand it off on the jet sweep this time to Proffer. And Proffer bulldozes his way ahead for 2 yards. You know, the Blackcats, Jake, aren't ripping off chunk after chunk, but they don't have any negative plays.
No, and the one thing I'm going to say here is they've been very productive. They've had minimal penalties. The one thing to note is in the last 2 series thus far, last series and a half, we should say, they've had 3 snaps hit the ground. That's the key factor right now. They've got to make sure that ball is dry for Shane Snodgrass, the youngster up front, the smallest guy up front. Have confidence in your snap. Get it back there.
2nd and 7 here for Fredericktown. 2 wings, 1 wide to the right side. Jet sweep. They're coming to the left. This is DJ Baca, and Baca is hammered down after just about a yard gain. Another point I think worthy of making right now, Jake, is that we've got 2 minutes left here in the second quarter. Ball control is paramount right here because if Fredericktown is not able to score, they would like at least to get a first down and not give Central that final chance before the end of the first half.
Correct. You know, this is one of those situations where, you know, you almost run your 4-minute offense here. You try to take all the time off the clock, but you have to be productive. You're in a 3rd and, you know, long medium, so to speak. You're right on that 6-7 yard cuff of what you would determine as. Be smart with what you do. Just try to milk this past the first down marker.
So Woods back in the gun, swings it quickly over to the right side, complete to Proffer. Proffer tries to swing around the right side, does manage to pick up 4, but it's going to bring up a 4th and about 3 for Fredericktown. But the important part of that for Fredericktown is that they completed the ball, so the clock will run. However, with 2 timeouts, Central does have the option to take one of their timeouts here and stop this clock.
It's like 4th and 3.
And it looks like they've done that, but the clock continues to run. But both teams are huddled up. Both teams huddled up about 15 seconds ago, Jake, and the clock continues to roll. And finally now it stops at 1:26.
Yeah, I think that there was a timeout. I think they just missed the signal stop play from the officials. I think it's going to go back to about 1:52. Yeah, there we go. 1:52 on the clock is about when we saw the team split. Chad, the most important thing here is if you're going to go for this, you got to be extremely confident in your execution to get 5 yards, not just the 4th and 4. You need to make sure no matter what you do not turn the ball over here. Punt may not be a bad deal, but you got to play very stellar defense. Maybe you go a hard count.
The last thing you want to do is give Central the short field with 1:52 remaining.
Correct. I mean, because we know that they're a run-heavy offense, but we also know that they can break off a few runs here to get it down the field.
So Wood will step back in that punt formation. And here's Karis Foster. I heard Coach Schweiss after his game last Friday night say, I want Karis to attack these punt returns because he's a guy that can make a difference in special teams for us. So Wood back in that punt formation. Key here is to get that good snap back to him. 1:52 here remaining here in the second quarter. And 8-7 lead. They fake it. Fredericktown fakes it. And they need 2 more yards, and I think they got it. Oh, what a play by Fredericktown. Not only with maybe a little bit of a surprise call right there, but also the effort to push that ball, to push that thing into the first down. Dane Sensel right there, and Fredericktown right now, well, playing with a little bit of house money for the next minute and a half.
Yeah, that takes some guts in that situation to do that. I mean, that's one of those, the only thing that would change that is if you were deeper in your end zone to have, a little bit deeper intuition to do it. But, man, what a great call from Coach Williams and his staff.
Williams continues to call this game play to win. And now here's a fire that's just a little bit below, contained to G.J. Baca. Oh, isn't that what Coach Green said? No, that's what Herm Edwards said. You play to win the game.
That's exactly right. And right here, that was an exact example. That's the route that they ran for their 71-yard touchdown with DJ Baca. If you watch, Easton Wood notices the robber. When I reference robber, it's an outside linebacker blitzing off the edge. He's coming off the edge, which leaves that really quick slant route, which he said something. You could see him look at DJ. He called it. The ball was just underthrown at his knees.
74 seconds remaining in the first half. We'll get the thoughts of Coach Corey Schweiss of the Central Rebels with Mike Reeves as they go off for the half. We'll try to catch up with Steve Williams when they come back for the second half of play. Good lead blocking for Zach Bachbeil right there. He gained 3 yards, but Central rallies to bring him down. 1 minute even remaining here in the first half. And an 8-7 lead for the Central Rebels. So Bachbeil with 3 right there. He's got 5 carries for 10 yards. Here in the first half, it has been a defense-dominated first half in large part for Fredericktown. That one big play, the 71-yard touchdown pass, and that's what put them 1 point away. And now the pass is fired straight into the hands of that same wide receiver, and Baca takes it deep into Central territory, and it's a gain of 27 yards.
We just talked about it. They are not allowing themselves to step inside. In this situation, as they go fast NASCAR offense here, they've got to take away that inside of the slot receiver.
Fredericktown quickly to the line of scrimmage, and they clock it. So Baca got the touchdown catch. He's got another 27-yarder, and he's got 2 grabs for 98 yards. That's a pretty good first half.
That's a pretty good stat to have.
Pretty good game.
Yes, it is, on 2 catches. The main thing here is an offensive staff. You've got 26 seconds. You got to preach to your kids. We got to use the sidelines no matter what we do. If you get balls in hand, get the first down or get out of bounds as we have a timeout.
So not only has Fredericktown kept it away from Central over the final 2 minutes, they're now threatening as they've got that 2nd and 10 from the 29-yard line. The Barn is an emerging media company in Farmington, and we're happy to be a part of their features here on the Parkland Sports Live. The Barn features the Tippy Joe Show, vulgar display of podcasts, birds and swords, and so much more. Be sure to like and subscribe for notifications, and happy to be working with Chad Winch, who heads up the Barn. We'd also like to thank a couple of our other sponsors, and they include Nuvo Athletic representative Tia Cunningham, St. Joe Youth Groups in Farmington, BetterHelp.com, Everest Counseling, and Notes for Hope. What good things are the St. Joe Youth Group doing nowadays?
Oh, we're already planning for our next mission trip. We're headed to Lake Charles, Louisiana again this year. Made some really good connections down there. We actually just had our first meeting of the school year. We continue to grow, and that's what it's about. It's something that's probably my wife's oriented over the last 5-6 years of us taking it over, and it's something, that we truly, that's probably the best thing we do in our lives, besides raise our own kids, is the youth group.
So a 2nd and 10 for Fredericktown. Twins to the left, twins to the right side, and Wood looking over the middle on the slant route, and they've got it! Leandre Catchings spins, breaks a tackle, stretches, and he's into the end zone! A 28-yard touchdown, pitch and catch, and Catchings, the aptly named youngster, gets into the end zone to put Fredericktown on top with 17 seconds remaining in the first half. Blackcats 13, Rebels 8. We got a game.
This is amazing to see. I'll give all Coach Williams the glory that he deserves. This is absolutely amazing to see what he's done with this squad over the last 2 seasons, or in his 2nd season here. The excitement that you see here out of Black Cat Valley is absolutely awesome, and the intensity that these boys are playing with. If you're getting ready to go into halftime, I don't think there's anyone in the MAFC that would think Fredericktown right now would be leading the Central Rebels.
Catching the attention of some football fans around the area, you betcha. And now here's the extra point. The snap is good, the hold is true, and the extra point is up and through. DJ Baca, 17.8 seconds remaining here in the first half of play, and it's a 14-8 lead for the Fredericktown Blackcats. And Mike Reeves, we haven't seen this in a while.
You can sense, guys, there's no panic over here on the central sideline, but there's a bit of what is going on here. You can kind of get that feel, especially with that catch and that run into the end zone. There's a whole half of football. One thing to keep in mind, guys, in the second half, Fredericktown now, there's no more element of surprise. Central knows what they're all about, so I'll be very curious to see what kind of adjustments occur at the half for either one of these teams. But this first half has certainly, guys, is a pretty good word to describe it.
I think the game, Jake, started out by saying, okay, are we physical enough to play with Central? I thought that was answered pretty early. Then now, are we skilled enough to play with Central? I think we're starting to get the answer. There's a long way to go. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's a great first couple of quarters here.
It's the confidence, though. It's the absolute confidence that this young squad of Fredericktown, because they've got a bunch of young guys, either offensive line, defensive line. Their skill guys are upperclassmen, but Chad, here's the main thing. Fredericktown gets the ball back in the second half.
Wow, DJ Baca hammers this kick. Will it stay in bounds? No, it rolls out of the 5. He nearly had a touchback right there. Jake, tell us about that touchdown drive there by the Fredericktown Blackcats.
Well, it all was set up by Easton Wood's interception in the end zone on the last Central possession. They marched 11 plays, 80 yards, capped off with an amazing catch that Leandre Catchings had to fight through defenders. I mean, he bounced off 2 tacklers to take it in from 28 yards out from a pass from Easton Wood. Absolutely amazing physicality from these Blackcats.
And you have to appreciate how Wood didn't throw the ball just to complete it. He threw the ball so his receiver would be able to catch and run in one fluid motion.
The main thing, and I think maybe we're over analyzing the skill guys, is how about the offensive line? He has not given up a sack yet. Coach Williams and this offensive line, these Blackcats, they have not given up a sack, which is not normal when you face the Central Rebels. They're usually always housing in someone's backfield.
In fact, let's take a look at Easton Wood's rushes, Jake. 8, 4, 1, 10. Not a negative rush among them, and several impressive runs.
Very impressive. And, the one thing that's kind of smart here about Coach Schweiss is you have the option on an out-of-bounds kick. Do you take the delay of game penalty, put him back 5 yards to try to put the ball back in Foster's hands here with short time left on the clock?
He's got the athletes to flip the field on it, doesn't he? 14-8. It's the Fredericktown Blackcats out in front of the Central Rebels. And this time Baca nails this one on the ground, and it rolls into the return team. Barrett Henson scoops it up. Looked like a shortstop, and he's thumped out at the 36-yard line. Fredericktown has brought some hard hats tonight. The Blackcats, and that was a shot out there levied by Donnie Lout the 4th. When you're the 4th, you've got some mustard behind you.
And he's a very special young man. He's probably one of the hardest working kids on this team. And he started on the offensive line for him last year at a whole 160 pounds. And to see what they call the dog in him come out on that hit, it was a straight flash down the field, and he laid some lumber.
Rebels football, they've got it at their own 37, 11.5 seconds remaining. And Fredericktown trying to stretch that defense back a little bit to try to prevent anything big. Swing route off to the left side. Central will move the sticks, but they've got only seconds remaining as that one's completed to Henson for a gain of 12 yards. And now only 3 seconds remaining here in the first half. You'd anticipate maybe a timeout here by the Central Rebels, and indeed, that's what we've got. So not a whole lot of high school quarterbacks are going to be able to throw this 60 yards into the end zone. What are you looking for? Maybe an intermediate route where maybe you can try to find a seam here?
As you said earlier, Coach Schweiss has a bag of tricks, and he's been known to pull them out. Obviously, in this situation, usually his bag of tricks come out when you least expect them. This is a situation where the Fredericktown defense needs to get their dime package in, drop one of your defensive linemen off the field, put in your extra safety, put some dudes back on the 10-yard line, and their job is to mirror the play. Do not come upfield until you know who's got the ball. Don't be surprised if this is not some type of double pass or lateral scheme here to try to get people out of position and get a sideline open.
Let's go over to Mike Reeves over there, and maybe Mike can tell. Are they scheming some stuff up over there, Mike?
Well, I would think the logical thing, because you're not throwing it 60 yards into the end zone, is you got a couple of playmakers out there. If you get them into some open space, they make people miss. So if you get the ball to Foster, a spot where he's got a little room and can make a move, he can take it more the distance with his legs than you have to throw the ball. I'm looking for something a little shorter. I don't think it's going to be heaved downfield. I think they're going to look for space.
Barring a penalty, this will be our last play of the first half. And Central will deploy 2 wide receivers to the right and somebody in the slot. So that'll make 3 to the right side, 1 to the left. And they've got a little protection back there for Jackson Jones with 1 running back there. They're going to motion to the right and flood that area. But a flag before the play develops. And they're going to go with motion on the offense, scoot him back 5 yards.
And as that ball was snapped, there was nothing out of the norms there. There was no receiver that took off. It was a straight turn from Foster like it was going to be a third-man screen, a bubble screen. That doesn't mean that's what it was going to be, but he was not in a position to be behind the ball being thrown if Jackson did throw it to him for a double pass situation.
So we've got a 1st and 55 here is what we have, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, if you're going to make a play, you're trying to get in the end zone. You have no clock left to work with here.
The clock, by the way, folks, says 3:03. It should be 3.3, just to give you some clarity on that. 3.3 seconds remaining here in the first half. As we said, barring a penalty, this will be the final play, barring a defensive penalty anyway. 14-8. And now they have adjusted to 30 seconds. They just need to move the decimal point one more time, and they'll have it. And now they've got it. Okay, here we go. So we've got a first down for Central. 3.3 seconds left. They're going to run a swing route to the right side to Karis Foster. Foster is dumped down for a yard loss. And what a way for Fredericktown to end this first half on a spectacular defensive play by DJ Baca, but a flag down on the field.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Chad, that's going to go against the defense. So it's whether it was after the play or in the play, determining on whether we're going to halftime or not. I think it was number 11, Ethan Marler, got tied up with one of the blocking receivers on the sideline here.
Sounds like we've got Mike live down there. Mike, did you see what the infraction was on that one?
No, as a matter of fact, the Central group, the players, the coaches, they were all headed to the locker room, and then they were told, hold on, guys, we're going to sort this out. So they weren't even sure what the call was.
All right. Well, Fredericktown is scooting back. And remember the old barring a defensive penalty? Well, that's where this comes in.
Yeah, and you just had a DJ Baca come up for a 3-yard loss on a very good athlete in Foster, but now you're giving them a second chance. So if there was ever something in Coach Schweiss's back pocket to say, man, if we just had 5 or 6 more yards, maybe we'd run this. Well, now's the opportunity for him to pull it out.
So Central's got another chance. And we'll say it again, barring a defensive penalty. This will be the final play of the first half. 14-8. It's Fredericktown leading Central. Central's been on the right side of the scoreboard in this matchup 16 straight times. And the average score of those games, 41.6 to 8.9 points. There haven't been many close.
No, that's what reaching back, as I had said, Malachi Kyle had one 14-7, but that was the end of the first quarter. That wasn't at halftime. That was not the end of the game.
Take them where you can get them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Central going to snap it once again. They're at the 46-yard line, and now they're going to fire it off to the right side, incomplete. The Fredericktown Blackcats will go to the locker room leading the Central Rebels. Mike Reeves catching up with Corey Schweiss to get his thoughts on the first half. Mike.
Coach, just general thoughts on that opening half and what you've seen from your team, what you've seen from theirs, as a matter of fact.
Well, they're playing a lot harder than we are right now. We're making a lot of mistakes. Got to give them a lot of credit. We'll talk to our kids at halftime. I don't really know what's going on, to be honest with you. I saw a lot of guys that act like they're in deer in headlights, which I haven't seen here in a long time, so we got to go in and get some stuff fixed.
One more thing, has Fredericktown done anything better tonight than maybe you thought they would on film?
No, number 70 is a handful, but we knew that coming into it. We're having trouble blocking him, but other than that, really I think it's a lot of us just kind of, doing some bad stuff, so we'll get it fixed.
Talk to you afterward. To you.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike Reeves. Mike, not only the consummate sideline reporter, but braving the weather down there as well. Good work by Mike. 14-8 is our halftime score. Now let's go ahead and step aside, and we'll come back and break down that first half of play. Take a look at some of the numbers, get the thoughts of Coach Whitener, and take a peek forward at the second half of play. We'll also take a look at the games going on around the area tomorrow night during Week 3 of Friday Night Football. Thanks so much for joining us, folks, tonight on Parkland Sports Live on this Thursday Night Football.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center has been providing mental health services since 1903. We are located in beautiful Farmington, Missouri, and serve upwards of 350 patients. With over 1,100 employees, we are the largest employer in St. Francis County.
I think is always in our mission is to get those guys to the place where they can be released in the community and live their lives.
But what makes SMMHC so special?
There's room for advancement. They're good benefits.
When you join SMMHC, you're being welcomed into our family. Find us at dmh.mo.gov.
BMW Convenience next to Little Caesars in Fredericktown has everything you need. Gas, snacks, a deli, and great food. Pizza, wings, Bosco sticks, chicken tenders, and more. At BMW Convenience, you can get a burger or chicken sandwich, bag of chips, and any size fountain drink for just $4.59. That's $4.59. With friendly and quick service, you can get in and out and back on the highway. BMW Convenience, right at the 6772 exit in Fredericktown.
Looking for top quality custom sportswear and activewear? Look no further than Nouveau Athletic. Nouveau Athletic blends innovative design with affordability, revolutionizing activewear for athletes, teams, and enthusiasts alike. From affordable, high-quality team practice wear to specialty sublimated activewear, Nouveau Athletic has grown to become a leader in sportswear and the industry, especially in cheer. Nouveau Athletic, where passion meets quality in every stitch.
For Nouveau Athletic custom apparel locally, contact Tia Cunningham at 573-701-6015.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.